into the BS box.
Well, it's like that song by Dinah Washington. No, was it Dinah Washington? Yeah, Dinah Washington. What a difference a day makes. What a difference a day makes. 24 little hours. What a difference 2 days made. But with that being said, we are live with another episode of BS Busters, and well, I mean, literally, it's been a little less than 2 days since we had our last podcast, but here we are again with more bullshit to bust. So without much ado, let's get to it. But before we do, let's have everyone introduce themselves. The lady first, and then the gentleman who hasn't been here for a while. So let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the BS Busters End of the Week show. I'm Jory Moonstar, and as I said before, what BS 2 days can bring in?
And this is Piggy Dot from Video Game Facts. I was supposed to be away for today, but we got to change our plans. They got moved to tomorrow, so might as well join in.
It's Kanoshi Abominita here to say that the age of Shinobi is over. And yes, I started watching that show. And boy, I heard they say that show moves slow. And one thing it wrong. Boruto?
Yeah, I
You mean burrito?
I can't really. I can't.
There's some shows that Red Fox can't eat.
Yeah, I can't. It's like by the end of Naruto Shippuden, I didn't give a shit about Naruto. So what the fuck makes you think I give a shit about his kid too? I don't give a shit about either of you. Like, if you're gonna do a spinoff series, I'd rather see a spinoff about a character that you could actually root for, like Rock Lee or.
It sounds hypocritical.
There's more interesting.
Shikamaru.
Since you don't care about his son yet, you care about Goku's son, Gohan.
That's because Gohan had character development. Boruto came from out of nowhere. It was added as a fucking afterthought at the end of Shippuden, and they were like, "It would be cool if we continue the story with this character." It's like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, but there's a huge. Well, besides the other 1,000 plot holes in Naruto, there's a huge plot hole because Kaguya, the goddess of chakra, was explaining how he needed to get more power because there's like these aliens or whatever that were going to come and destroy everything, and you never hear about them ever again.
Yeah. Naruto started out really good with the original series when they were kids, and then like the first arc and a half of Shippuden was good, and then it just went downhill.
By the way, Kanoshi, thank you for reminding me of something that we are going to use for a later topic.
Yeah.
Boruto is just essentially just one ginormous filler. I don't think I'm gonna continue watching it.
Just be like,
there are characters in the show that are certainly more interesting than Boruto, but I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, like I said, if they were gonna do a spinoff about a character, I would have rather had a spinoff about Rock Lee, because Rock Lee was a more interesting character because he was a ninja who couldn't use like the normal ninja techniques. He had to use just all like more traditional martial arts type shit, and that was badass. But
there's a anime that's called Black Clover, but nobody cares about that show.
There you go.
Because people are too busy with My Hero Academia.
No, I think they're too busy with season 2 of One Punch Man. Yeah.
I was watching. I watched the last that Naruto movie, which I thought was pretty good, and then I watched Boruto. I was like, you know what? I'll give this Boruto series a shot, and it's just Naruto GT. And by some of the clips I've seen of it, it's like this is Super Saiyan all over again. You know, the Super Saiyanism, where you have an ability in the previous series or in the previous season where it took the character a hell of a long time to obtain, and then And
then
that's
it's rendered
everybody just magically has that
Yeah,
particular power. They don't have to work real hard for it.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, really, guys, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, Pinky, introduce yourself. We went off on a tangent, but it was worth it.
I already introduced myself.
All right, then I guess it's up to me. And of course, it's me, Mr. Red Fox. And there we go. So, you know, we're covering a little bit of the news that's left over for the week. Some major news came out over the last 2 days since we had the last podcast, the midweek podcast. So, two bits of major news. The first one is that the anti-loot box bill is going through with bipartisan support in the Senate. Might pass, probably will pass. If it passes the Senate, it'll probably pass the House. And EA and Activision and the ESA are pissed off about it. Anytime those leech rat bastards are angry about something, I'm quite happy because, you know, had they had a better business model for how they made their money instead of screwing over their consumers with shoddy business practices, you know, it wouldn't have come to this. But no, you know, instead of making better made products that were well budgeted, they had to nickel and dime their consumers with microtransactions and loot boxes. So now they got to pay the price. They got to pay the cost to be the boss. And if this passes and it's regulated, oh boy, and implemented and funded, ooh boy, you're going to see a major change in how these people conduct their business. And hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully they'll stop loot boxing things. They'll just, you know, I mean, it can go either two ways. Either they'll take it out and find a new way to try and monetize things, or they'll raise the price of video games.
Raising the price of video games, though, I'm going to say this much. That's going to make getting games a lot more harder to actually decide on which ones to go for, and it will be easy to tell which ones put in more effort versus shovelware.
I hate to say this, but I would rather pay $80 for a video game and not be microtransactioned and loot boxed and stuff like that than pay $60 and then have $100 worth of DLC and
here's the problem to me.
The full game experience.
It's getting easier. I mean, it's getting easier to make these games because they have better technology, and yet they're saying it's still more expensive, and they have to use these microtransactions.
Well, it's
for them to put up, beef up.
Well, that's the BS, because it's not more expensive to make games. It's in terms of hours and the amount of hard work that has to go into, like you know, back in the day, if Shigeru Miyamoto designed a level for Mario, or Tezuki Takashi designed a level in Super Mario Brothers, the original for the NES, and it, like, there was a problem with the level. Like, they would literally have to go to the programmers who would then have to recode the damn level. Now, if there's a mistake with a level, they can just go into the editor. They can open up the level, go into the editor, and change some stuff around, and boom, they're there. So it's not more expensive to make video games.
That's what I was calling out, because I can hear the people saying that it's going to be more expensive if we can't put our loot boxes in, but yet development for video games has gotten cheaper.
Yeah, they use that argument because it's easier to charge you. It's easier for them to charge for microtransactions and loot boxes, so then they can give their investors money. That's what it's all about. It's about the investors getting paid. Which, I mean, to be fair, listen, if you put money into EA, Activision, Ubisoft, you're an investor and you're expecting dividends on your money, yeah, you want to get your money. I mean, listen, all of us who have jobs or investments, if you get dividends, you want to get your fucking money. Look, no one's discounting people who put their money into something wanting to get the return on investment. Okay? But find ways of doing it without screwing over your consumers. Put out more games. Put out some DLC that's actually worth a damn. I don't know. You guys have any suggestions?
Well, all I have to say is that as much as I like this bill, my only major problem with it is that there's a loophole that it only applies to video games targeted towards minors, as in games that are rated EC to teen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna apply to M-rated games like Mortal Kombat 11, which uses loot boxes.
Yeah. But generally speaking, most M-rated games don't sell as well as T or E for everyone. So
I want to consider that. I mean, because Mortal Kombat 11 is currently the first #1 M-rated best-selling M-rated title on a Nintendo console in 14 years.
yeah, but I mean, it's still it's by and large. The highest selling games are ones that are not M-rated. It's kind. I mean, it's the same thing with the movie industry. The movies that gross the most aren't R-rated films. The movies that gross the most are the ones that hit the widest audience, which is PG-13, PG. So I mean, it's targeting the ones that are pretty much hitting young kids, but it doesn't really matter because you've got kids playing GTA 5 and Halo and M-rated games because their parents buy it for them, and then
right, because the U.S. Senate is under the mindset where they think that minors shouldn't be playing M-rated games yet.
Somehow they keep on getting them.
They'll be surprised how out of touch they are with the gaming consumer base.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a night. Like really, I don't think the bill goes far enough, to be honest with you. Like I think it should be. I don't think loot boxes should be in any games because it's basically kind of like a roulette wheel or a slot machine, and for certain people, and certain people have very addictive personalities, which segues nicely into the second news story, which is the World Health Organization has recognized video game addiction as a disease, which people are going to be like, well, that's ridiculous. But I mean,
I've heard this argument before, and I'm going to face palm about it because we had to deal with this junk already, and even though there's reason to be worried about it to a point, I'm being serious here. To have it as a illness to a degree, I have to wonder what kind of points they put out to classify it, because yes, there's addiction. I mean, there's addiction for smoking, for drinking, for daredevil stunts.
Well, how do addictions come about?
Well,
How do addictions come about? They usually come about because somebody, because they either want control of something, or you're trying to escape something, or a myriad of different reasons. So,
typically speaking, if you look at people who are addicted to things, it alters their behavior. So you look at someone who's addicted to cigarettes, they will go out of their way to buy cigarettes. We've all heard those stories of people, I quit cigarettes, I threw them in the trash, but they weren't quite ready to give it up, and they were digging in the trash to get those damn cigarettes. Or there's like little, or maybe the cigarettes they put in the trash were wet, so they couldn't light them. So they were digging in the ashtray to get some butts and smoking a cigarette butt. Or people who are addicted to alcohol, they're so bad that they're drinking
they're drinking gallons
and mouthwash in order to get their alcohol fix. So are there people who are altering their behavior in order to fulfill their addiction? For video games, are there people who play way too much MMOs? Are there people who play way too many smartphone games? Are there people who like always have their face into a fucking smartphone game? Are there people who, to the detriment of other aspects of their life? Are there people who are too damn fat playing MMOs ass in front of a computer screen? Or actually, you know, the real MMO people, multiple computer screen setups, like 3 of those sons of bitches, side by side? Yes, there are. You know, just because you personally don't think that it's an issue doesn't mean that there aren't people who aren't affected by it. You know, and there are, you know, like,
and there are cases where it makes it worse than porn addiction.
I think 20 years ago, we were able to strike the balance between people, especially, like, here's the thing. If you're an adult and you're addicted to something, that's bad. But the thing with video games is that so many of them are marketed towards children. And basically, addiction changes how your brain works. So you've got children who are getting addicted to video games. And it's fucking up their behavior and how their brain develops. So that's the issue for me. Like, if you're an adult and you're addicted, that's bad, but you're an adult. You've made those choices. But when you're a kid, your brain's still growing. Those neural pathways are still developing. You're still forming the habits that are going to lead what you're going to have for the rest of your life. And, you know, when children are the ones who are like, you know, like we've heard kids, like, this kid, like, fucking killed his mom because she took away his Xbox. Killed her because she took away his Xbox. I mean, that sounds like some addict shit right there. So, you know, I mean, you know, I'm going to disagree with you on this one, Jewel. I do seriously think that, yes, it is a health issue. I don't know how you treat it, because you can't.
That's the reason why I was iffy about it, because I'm not sure how they're going to classify it in the first place.
Well, it's an addiction.
I mean, I heard the arguments for it before, but I'm waiting to know how they fully classify it beforehand. And I know it's going to be under addiction, but even I could say that there's been some addictions that are pretty weird out there.
I mean, how do you technically, how do you classify video game addiction? Because the reason, back when I was in middle school, I guess you can consider, I was addicted to video games because I didn't really have much control over what was going on in my real life. But in the video game, I had a little more control. That's why I played a lot of video games when I was younger, or wanted, you know, and stayed inside and played video games when I was younger because I didn't have much of any control over my, you know, the real world and real life. But that's not the case for everyone. So how do you define what video game addiction is? Who defines it?
You use the general terms to define addiction by, you know, comparing it to other similar cases of addiction. So let's Google the word of addiction and addict. Addiction definition. So addiction is being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity, and you're willing to do anything in order to get that. So let's look at what the definition of an addict is, right? And see if that applies to people who play video games. A person who is addicted to a particular substance, typically, or an illegal drug. Let's see, what else? You know, someone who's an abuser. Let's look in the. So you devote or surrender yourself to something habitually or obsessively. I mean, it is Merriam-Webster. I mean, I think we can see people who are obsessively into video games.
Oh yeah, a couple of those people have been have been roaming around. You know, was in the gamers at large community.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep it real. They're addicted to like here's the thing. Like addicted to I guess addict in terms of the pejorative form of the word is just means you're basically obsessed with something to the point where it fucks up other aspects of your life. So if you play so many video games that like it leads to you being unhealthy physically, like you're not eating food, healthy food, you're eating hand food, so a lot of fast food. You're eating, you're not physically active, so you're like really out of shape, and you know you have clogged arteries and shit. Yeah, you might be addicted to video games. You know, if that's what's enabling you to not be healthy enough to do basic life activities. You know, if you play so many video games that you're not having much of a social life, like you're not going out and doing other things, you don't read, you just play video games. Yeah, you might be addicted. I mean, it sounds like I'm doing a Jeff Fox over there. You might be a redneck. You might be a video game addict. All right. I mean, look, there are people who are addicted to playing Call of Duty and Madden and FIFA. They play that shit religiously.
If that's true, oh boy, I could hear the pitchforks rising now.
I mean, you know, to the detriment of other aspects of their, you know, to their thing. I mean, you know, it's, or you know, the Merriam-Webster definition of addiction. It's the quality or state of being addicted, or it's the compulsive need or use of a habit-forming substance or activity characterized by a tolerant and well-defined physiological symptoms upon withdrawal. So basically, are there people who, when they can't play a certain video game for a while, that they kind of lose their shit a little bit? That we know of? I mean, yes, the shit is addictive. Just like alcohol is addictive, sugar is addictive. You know, if something can make you feel good, but it can also cause you to alter your behavior, and if you don't get it for a while, you go through the symptoms of withdrawal. Yes, that shit can be addictive. Coffee's addictive. I know people. I have a friend who drinks like 8 cups of coffee a day. And one time he got so bad that his doctor's like, you cannot drink caffeine for like the next 3 months. Cannot drink it. Dude almost lost his shit. He had nosebleeds, had caffeine withdrawal.
That's a bit much.
So yes, it is addictive. I mean, I'm not happy about it. I mean, personally, look, listen, okay. I like, here's the thing, okay? Like on a subjective level, I don't want video games to be addictive. And yet, objectively looking at the evidence in front of me, yes, it's addictive. So, I mean, you know, the question is, where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, you can either choose to be addicted or not, or not to this stuff. I mean, same thing with alcohol. You can either. It's not like we should ban alcohol because there are people who out there that don't know when to put down the bottle.
You're right, but alcohol is regulated. like here's the problem, okay? Alcohol is regulated. Marijuana, even though in a lot of places it's becoming illegal, it's still regulated. Video games is an addictive activity that's not really regulated by and large. They're like, oh, we'll regulate ourselves. yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay.
It doesn't really alter your It's not like pot or weed that actually really alter your state of being. I mean, I guess you can talk
I mean,
about.
it's not like the government will try to adapt the parental regulations of having their kids only play their games during the weekends.
I mean, if you sit down and play a game for a couple hours, you're not gonna start seeing, let's say if you play a game for a couple hours and get out in your car, it's not like you're gonna
Well, that's true.
start swerving on the road.
That's true. You're not going to kill anybody except for that kid whose mom tried to take away his Xbox and he killed her. The problem.
But there's a lot of other underlying reasons. I mean,
yeah.
How many millions of people play video games that don't?
You're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Okay, it's kind of like drinking alcohol, right? Like I drink socially. Like when I do drink, I drink very little. Like my drinks are very weak, and like I'm not getting tore up drunk where I'm falling out, pissing myself or anything like that. But there are people who one drink and they lose their shit. Like they cannot stop. And just like that is a drug and an addictive activity and substance. There are people who are like that with video games. Like there are people like
Well, there are people like that with food, like certain kinds of food. Once they start,
they like
this. Dude, I mean, we can do this with anything.
There are people who get addicted to all types of things. But here was my point. Like with food, with alcohol, with drugs, especially drugs that are now legal or you can take them for certain things. Those are all regulated. What I'm saying is that video games, by and large, aren't regulated. Well, I mean, they say they regulate themselves, but I mean, like I said, that's like trusting the fox to watch the hen house,
or a player from a team being the referee.
Because here's the thing, okay? The video game companies make money by making their shit addictive. Just like cigarettes, when they quote unquote regulated themselves, made money by making people get addicted to the shit. Wait a second. Coca-Cola does this, McDonald's does this, Burger King does this. Yes.
Frito-Lay does this.
But here's the thing. There is a form of regulation on those things. Like, yeah, they can't say, oh, you can't sell a Big Mac, but you got to tell people how many calories are in it. I mean, there is a certain level of self-control. But my point is this. Those things still have some form of regulation on them. Video games don't really have that. Like you can't go, you can't go. Like there's certain video games that people say, hey, you need to play that. And I said to myself, look, I know that there's certain things that I have an addictive personality on. I'm not gonna play that. There's a reason I'm not heavily into World of Warcraft because I know people who are addicted to that shit. Played it for 10, 15 years. Well, not 15. However long World of Warcraft. Been there since the start of it. Been playing World of Warcraft. I can't do it.
It's about to hit 20.
I can't. Look, listen. I know I'm addicted to certain shit. Like I know I'm addicted. Okay, I'm addicted to reading. I love reading. Like Kindle is one of the best things in the world. Especially like I don't have a Kindle tablet. I put Kindle on my phone. Like if I'm on a train commuting someplace, and it's like a 30-40 minute train ride, I will sit down and open up my Kindle and read a book. It's great. I can read and go and look, my reading speed is insane, right? I'll go through books like a beaver through wood. All right. But you know what? And if I didn't have access to books to read, I might lose my shit. Okay. So I mean, people have addictions to all types of things, okay? But my point is that, a lot of that stuff is regulated to a certain point. Video games claim to regulate themselves, but their entire business model is built upon getting people, hooked. And not hooked because of the gameplay or, solid gameplay design, hooked because, like they go after people who might have gambling tendencies with loot boxes. You got a 1 in a million chance of getting this golden lightsaber in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Good luck, motherfucker! Cling! Pull this lever. Now, for me, that doesn't hold a thing because I know like I have a pretty good, I've been in Nevada, Las Vegas. I know when someone's trying to fuck me over with gambling type stuff. But what if you're a little kid who has no concept of that type of thing? You're playing that game, and your brain is that part of your brain that can basically keys into that gambling addiction is being formed and being stimulated. That's the problem. That's why it's an issue. It's not. If you're an adult and you're playing and you're doing something addictive like drinking alcohol, or you live someplace where weed's legal and you're smoking weed, you're an adult. You are making that choice. Okay. But if you're a kid, kids have not formed enough wherewithal in order to be able to be prudent about the judgments they have to make for that type of stuff. It's the reason why they say if you have little kids, you shouldn't feed them sweet sugary drinks when they're little, because it basically forms in their mind, like physiologically, they begin to crave unhealthy shit like that when they're little, and it just it becomes an issue later on in life. It's the reason why they say if someone's a baby, give them milk. Don't give them soda, because soda is a sugary soft drink, and it's not good. It's empty calories for one thing, but it's also just not good. It's just it's not good.
I mean, how are we going to regulate it? I mean,
I don't know. Look. At this point, the World Health Organization is just saying, we said basically, I don't know how they're going to regulate it. Even if they pass it, it still has to be implemented and funded. I'm just saying, like, there's certain, like, okay, here's what I'm saying, okay? As adults, I don't know about, I can't speak for Pinky, but I think all of us who are over 21 have had a drink, right?
I never took a drink.
I said aside from you, Pinky,
Oh.
the rest of us have had a drink. And alcohol
only during holidays.
Yeah, alcohol is an addictive substance. It's a drug, okay? It's a depressant, okay?
That's
here's
the thing.
Most of us aren't alcoholics, I don't think. When I was in college,
I know an alcoholic. That's my parent.
Yeah, there were the binge drinkers, people who just drink way too goddamn much, and then would puke, and the whole dorm would have to help them not die in their own vomit, not aspirate their own vomit and die. But I mean, not everyone is, not everyone who drinks or smokes weed is addicted to the point where it's disrupting their lives. But at that point, you're still, even though when you're 21, you're still a kid. I know people are like, I'm an adult. Nah, not really. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how they're going to regulate it. I just think that, like, just on the base level, like, I don't give a shit about as an adult, because then as an adult, I can make my own choices. I have enough life experience in order to be able to know how to parse my way through a lot of situations. But if you're like a 10, 12, 14, even 15-year-old kid, like, what are your defenses against someone who, like, they've hired psychologists and psychiatrists to basically help them develop games to be more addictive in order to go after people who have gambling tendencies, and to stimulate that particular response in certain people to make them want to spend more money on this shit.
I understand what you're saying, but like, there's a lot of stuff out there that's like that.
Yeah, but that's an excuse, Kenoshi. That's like saying, well, look, everything's dangerous, so we shouldn't have more road laws to prevent people from getting run the fuck down just because because it's naturally dangerous out there. Yeah, it's dangerous, but that doesn't mean you should, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a little bit more protection so that people don't get run the fuck down. Shit.
Well, I'm not necessarily even saying that. I'm not even saying that we're getting rid of. We should get rid of safeguards. I'm just saying that maybe people should be a little bit more responsible, because I mean, it's the same thing. I remember back in the '90s, early 2000s, with like candy and like junk food, and I remember reading Fast Food Nation. I had to read that for a class, and it talked about the addictive nature and how a lot of the junk food and the fast food stuff is designed for addictive, to be more addictive, to be more tasty, and not all that stuff is regulated. It has calorie count, but nobody reads it. It's just it's just the way.
It's actually like a lot of companies that used to make their money off of certain fatty, sugary type things. Like some of those product lines don't work anymore because people realize, oh shit, this thing is a fat mine right here. This thing's nothing but empty calories. This is not good. Like the frozen food market going out. McDonald's is talking about how they've been losing money because people don't eat there as much anymore. So I mean, even something as slight as just telling people, hey man, you know how many calories that damn Big Mac has actually had an effect. I mean, listen, like I said, if you're an adult, you can make your own choices. But here's the problem. A lot of these video games are geared towards children, and children do not have the tools
or restraint
to deal with shit like an adult does. Here's the thing, okay? Before you say, well, even as an adult, you have a response. There are adults who don't have the tools to deal with their addictions.
Well, the thing is, I was a kid that was addicted to video games when I was younger. But again, I even at the time, I'd argue that I knew better, and it wasn't necessarily just purely being addicted. It's about control. So I don't know about the idea that children can't
and this is where my argument comes up that I know that they're trying to watch, that there's people that are going to try to classify one thing and people are trying to classify it as another thing. I'm just wondering where they're going to put the flag of addiction at, so if anything we can know where everybody else is going to go. Because
personally, with the bill being endorsed in the Senate, I would just like it if they just took the loot boxes out of games, like teen and down. Like if you're a teenager, and down, no loot boxes. Just so that
but I was going to say that we all know that there's going to be video games that are going to be trying to keep out the AO section, and there's going to be games that are going to try to get into the AO
games by and large don't even sell AO games in most stores. You have to special order AO games. And M-rated games, yes, but here's the thing: most M-rated games don't sell that well. So I mean, this is basically designed to kick the video game industry in the nuts about their greedy business practices that are specifically designed to appeal to people who have addictive personalities and tendencies. Which, I mean, to be fair, look, listen, okay, to be fair, like it's basically like going after the drug dealer on the corner instead of the supplier and the people giving him money. But in this case, you're also hitting the supplier and people giving them money. Because at the end of the day, it's not the developers who really want to do this. It's the fucking publishers who are doing it, and the investors who are the ones who are like, yeah, we need more money. We need more money. Okay, we can get you more money if we fuck over people and appeal to people's baser instincts. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's the reason why I was saying that I want to know where they're aiming at, so we could see where everybody else is going to shift to next. Because it's not the bill that gets me worried. It's about what people are going to do after it comes into law. You can understand that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm just telling you. Listen. I don't know how the law would be implemented. I'm just saying that. I mean, something has to be done. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, something has to happen. But if anything, I I want to know what happens. That way, when I see people react, I could say that, well, we had people that were so greedy, and well, they wanted more green. Well, they're gonna see red.
Now you get kicked in the nuts. Look, you keep on fucking with people. Eventually, you're gonna get kicked in the nuts. That's all I got to say. You know, if people weren't so greedy and they weren't so bullish on fucking over their consumer base, I mean, you could here's the thing. They could have listen. EA is like, oh, we can't make money. We need to have live services. You want to know why they want to have live services? Because then they can monetize the shit out of everything and continue to make money off of a title years down the line.
I was gonna say that
wrong with that, but
they did. Actually, they're doing the next stupidest thing, which is making a game every year and making only the smallest of changes.
Yeah, that's FIFA. It's like, oh, this is only slightly different, but
yeah, and that's one of the things I was worried about, because I know that people like EA are going to find a way to get around all this.
So
I want to.
Well, I mean, they're still going to find a way around this, because here's the thing. This goes after loot boxes. This doesn't go after cosmetic design.
Cosmetic only items.
They're still going to have cosmetic only. It's like, well, no, it's not a loot box. You can get whatever you want, but it's you got to pay $2.99 for this new outfit. They're gonna listen. They're gonna find a way to get that money, but it's gonna be they won't be able to use loot boxes, which. I mean, here's the thing. Kids are probably still going to spend their parents' money if they have a PS4, an Xbox One, or whatever the next console is, or whatever. They're still going to spend their parents' money on some useless-ass bullshit. Yeah, I wanted that outfit for Naquita. I just made that name up. I don't know what game it is.
See, someone made a list on what the anti-loot box bill excludes. Which is difficulty modes, cosmetic items, and downloadable expansions, which means it could affect more than just loot boxes, but also games that sell characters as DLC.
Oh well, shit, man, good.
That's why I said what I did.
Good. That's even better.
but I also feel that might affect the Fighter's Pass, Swift Match for the Ultimate.
I mean, I hate to say this now. It'll probably be when if the bill passes and it gets signed into law, what'll happen is that it'll affect games moving forward from a certain point. It's not going to affect past games. It'll affect games moving forward. Personally,
not the games that are out right now, or games of the past.
Yeah, it'll affect games in the future. Here's the thing, okay? Perfect case scenario, this bill passes and you go back to how it was back in the day, where you bought a game and then get this, kid, this is going to surprise you. You unlocked characters by playing the game.
Yeah. Some games still do this. But oh god, they're rarity right now.
Yeah. Remember,
because people would rather have the entire roster unlocked for competitive purposes.
Remember, man, they can. Okay,
competitive.
I'm just gonna say this right now. Competitive people can go eat a dick. Okay, I'm sorry, and for those of you who saw John Wick 3, those dogs were eating lots of dicks in that movie. So basically, those people who are like, I want fuck you. Literally, if you're part of the competitive scene, you are 0.001% of all the people who will play that game. So you are in the minority. Shut the fuck up. You do not dictate how the rest of the industry should be going, because you literally, if the only people who bought video games were the only people who played it competitively, the video game industry would go out of business. Okay.
At least within a year.
No, less than a year, a few months. Okay, because literally they make up less than 0.1% of the people who buy those games. Okay, if all the people who play World of Warcraft and StarCraft competitively are the people who bought that game and paid subscriptions, Blizzard would go out of business. Okay, so why would you let those people dictate how you make games and when you put them out and how you make them? That makes no goddamn sense. That's like you own a business and you have 1,000 customers on a monthly basis, but there's
And
one
you're
guy.
only
But there's one guy there who doesn't like onions in grilled onions on the burger. So you get rid of all grilled onions. Everyone else likes grilled onions, but this one motherfucker doesn't. So you get rid of them. Then you lose like half of your 1,000. You fucked up your business because one motherfucker didn't like onions.
yeah.
That's a bad business. That's bad business.
Bad business. God, that's bad thinking. That's bad logic 101.
That's why I called bullshit on that whole Capcom during Street Fighter V debacle. They're like, well, the reason we released this too early is to satisfy the competitive scene. Fuck the competitive
BS.
They're literally less than 1/10% of a percent of all the people who of the audience you want to reach. Why do you give a fuck what they think?
Probably for promotional purposes, but other than that,
It didn't help. Street Fighter V is one of the lowest selling games in the series.
and I bet you they didn't. And I bet you it took them years to make a true final version, which is the arcade edition.
Yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, I think have we curb stomped this? We've had a healthy debate about the topic. Anyone have anything else they want to say before we move on to the next little bit of news of the week?
Let's see. Aside from characters that are being sold as DLC, it also includes any EXP boosts and any weapons or perks from loot boxes.
So you mean basically the bill is being built to try and make gaming go back to how it was 20 years ago, where you played a game and you unlocked shit and you actually had to grind at it to be good at it, and not just, oh, I'll just buy this EXP boost and I can make level 20 in a week. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's terrible. How dare they want games to be like they were back in the day when you actually had to play the shit the way it was meant to be played in order to win it. Oh God, those bastards. How dare they? To quote Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child, I should be whipped. I should be purged. I should be punished. Anyone else have anything else they want to say about it before we move on to the next bit of news for the week?
Please don't let it be epic. That's all I'm saying.
And I wonder if this might affect the current mobile games, like the upcoming Mario Kart Tour.
Well, like I said, if this bill passes, it's going to affect. Now, it won't affect games out right now, although probably with their next update, they might have to take that shit out or readjust a lot of stuff.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing: this bill, even if this bill passes, it probably will get watered the fuck down by the ESA's lobbying arm. So loot boxes might go, but they'll probably keep cosmetic transactions and shit like that.
Right. Just asking, because I know that Nintendo's going to be pulling off support of Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp in Belgium because of the law.
Here's what I'll say. If Nintendo hadn't put those microtransaction loot box shit in the game could have still been there. But look, you do shady shit, you get kicked in the nuts. And yes, everyone's like, you're a Nintendo fan. Nintendo does shady shit.
Yeah.
Call them out on it. I'm not gonna say it. Oh, you Nintendo, you can get away with shady shit because I grew up with it. I like it.
Well, to be fair, it was a consumer-based fault for complaining about Super Mario Run. not being free to play and instead costing just a mere $10.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If they just put that game, I mean, personally, if it was up to me, I would have said, why don't you just make a 2D Mario game? No, not Mario Maker. Like an actual 2D Mario game and released it. They could have made more money than $10. Just put it on the, look, they can do it right now. Make a 2D Mario game, a traditional 2D Mario game, release it for $30 on the Switch.
That will take up a lot of people because people are getting sick and tired of the new Super Mario Brothers games. So that's right.
How? There's only the last new Super Mario Brothers game. I said new, not a reissue of an old one. The last new one we had was on the Wii U. We haven't had a new one, and I'm not considering.
Yeah, they don't want a new one either.
We haven't got one for a long time. I mean, I don't know how you get tired of something when you haven't had it for a while. That's like someone saying, that's like some dude popping up, you know what, I'm getting tired of blowjobs. You haven't had a blowjob in 5 years. Yeah, but I'm still tired of them. Ain't nobody tired.
I was gonna make the joke that this is like the Legend of Zelda curse. Like, we only get one new Zelda every few years. And
well, I mean, not really. We've been getting 2 per console for since the N64 days. I mean, the odd man out is the SNES because we only got one Zelda game on the SNES. But the NES got 2 Legend of Zeldas. The N64 got 2 Legend of Zeldas. The GameCube got 2 Legend of Zeldas. The Wii got 2 Legend of Zeldas. The Wii U got
2 Legend of Zeldas.
Well, I'm not including the
Hyrule Warriors.
No, and I'm not including Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD. So we got one, like the Wii U's the odd man out. It got 1 Legend of Zelda. I think the Switch will probably get 2 Legend of Zeldas. So, no, Hyrule Warriors is a Warriors game. That's not a Legend of Zelda game. It's a Warriors game.
mm-hmm.
Not that's a bad thing, but it's just.
And speaking of Warriors, are you guys planning on getting the Persona 5 Scramble Warriors spin-off?
No.
Mm-mm.
Mm. I found that most of the Persona spin-offs aren't very good. The ones that aren't RPGs, I should say. Like, Into the Labyrinth is pretty good, but that's an RPG. Persona itself is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei game series. Raiju Kuzunoha 1 and 2 on the PS2 was pretty good, but that was like an action RPG. Like,
I'm surprised you didn't go. I was about to say, I'm surprised you didn't go with Fighters.
No, it's because if it's not an RPG, I'm not interested in the Persona or Shin Megami Tensei series if it's not an RPG. Sadly. Anyway, we've got a few minutes before we get to the end of the podcast. Well, actually, a little over 30. So,
What about our peeves?
I think we've exhausted that topic, so I guess we can get to the rest of the news. The rest of the news, let's see here, going down the line.
Oh, I got this one.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie.
Sonic's now out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Paramount is finally taking the best option, which is delaying the movie for redesigning Sonic's movie design.
I don't know who okayed that design in the first place, and I don't know why Sega had no input on the design of the character, which tells you how fucked up Sega is when they aren't even worried about how they're like Sega, like Sonic the Hedgehog is the mascot of their company, and they couldn't even be bothered to know what the character fucking looked like, which tells you that Sega's fucked up because, like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've worked for companies that had branding and were really like anal retentive about branding, and like
somehow they allowed Sonic to look like Beep.
Yeah, he looked like shit. So I mean, it's kind of weird when, because like, okay, like I've never worked for Nintendo, but from what I've heard, they're really anal retentive about branding. I've worked for other companies that are really anal retentive about branding. So it's kind of weird that Sega's like, oh, we had no idea that he had this design. Like, how the fuck do you not know what your mascot of your company looks like in a movie? Like that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like being married and your wife spends $50,000 and you have no idea that your wife spent $50,000. I don't know. I didn't know she spent $50,000. God damn it, $50,000! Unless that's her money that she made herself and is not coming out the household. God damn it, you better know that $50,000 you spent out your bank account. God damn, shit.
I was going to say, spending that much money, that's going to raise eyebrows and make you wonder, what the beep are you investing in?
I don't know.
And hopefully not a life insurance policy, or you should be panicking.
I have no idea. I just think it's kind of weird that a company that, like, could you imagine any other company with branding like that letting their shit go down like that?
Only one, and I'm probably stretching it here, but oh yeah, Konami.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm stretching it.
No, you're right. Yeah, Konami. I don't think Konami would give a fuck about their branding. but Konami's mascot character, I think their mascot used to be a penguin, and then it was an octopus, and then it was Gambari Goemon and Vic Viper from Gradius. Like, I don't think they really have a brand mascot anymore. Like, let's keep it real. Could you imagine if Nintendo, with the new animated Mario game, a Mario movie coming out, was like, yeah, we had no input on what his design was going to look like. Like, do you honestly think that shit would fly?
As it would fly as far as people believing that Yugi Moto is able to kill somebody in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime series.
But there is a difference though. The guy who made Sonic is still with, or the guy who made Mario is still with Nintendo, whereas Yuji Naka doesn't even work at Sega anymore. So
there goes his connections.
Yeah, there's no one there to uphold the legacy.
And not even Sega themselves like the new movie design.
Yeah, but they weren't even aware what the design looked like. That's my point. I'm like, how are you not aware of what the mascot of your fucking company looks like in a movie that you optioned to get made? Like, that makes no sense. Kenoshi, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, they actually delayed it. I guess they probably also, with the success of Detective Pikachu, they probably was like, we need to do better.
we need to do better. We can't be fucking up like this. So no, we can't. And Detective Pikachu, after saying it, I have to admit, it did, like, the Pokemon do kind of, like, the first 2/3 of the movie, the rendering, the Pokemon look great. The last third of that movie, the third act of that movie, you can tell that they were rushing to get that movie out because some of those Pokemon don't look as good as the Pokemon in the beginning of the movie. But overall, most of them do look good. You know what I mean? Like you see what basically they tried to convey in the video games and in some of the TV shows, but it never was really, like, the closest I can think of this movie is, remember those shorts, those Pokemon Origin shorts?
Right.
You mean that?
Oh, you mean
that episode miniseries?
You know, the Pokemon Origin shorts where they were like,
I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's basically kind of like, it's like someone took that and said, hey, the concept of like Pokemon being integrated with the world and people using Pokemon, you know, like for everyday things. So you have like a Machop, like, a Machamp, like, you know, conducting traffic, or, you know, the evolved form of the panda Pokemon just sitting on a bench. All these small ones just hanging out here, just hanging on, just doing shit. Just like having this look on its face, like a dad hanging out with its kids and just annoyed, but you can't be the annoyed dad. You gotta hang out with them.
Or Loudred being used as Boombot.
Yeah, just like, you know how Pokemon would integrate with everyday life, and if the Pokemon universe were real, it's like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. I give credit to it for that, and I guess after they saw that, they're like, shit, we can't be coming up half-assed with our movie.
One thing I do have to wonder about the movie is if they're going to make a Sonic Smash Bros. A Smash Bros. Related reference in the Sonic movie, like they did with Detective Pikachu with Poke Floats.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I mean, let's keep it real. I didn't have much hope of this movie. The only bright glimmer of hope that I had for this movie was Jim Carrey, because, I mean, it seems like we're getting a throwback to like 90s Jim Carrey, you know, Mask, Ace Ventura Jim Carrey, which I'm cool with. Those are some of my favorite 90s movies with Jim Carrey in them. Before Jim Carrey was like, I'm a serious actor now. I'm like, come on, man, don't do this. Don't do this, please. Don't do this. So, I mean, literally, I say this again. The best part of that trailer was Jim Carrey being, you know, an interesting version of Dr. Robotnik. So, I mean, you know, could a 3-month delay help that movie? I don't know. I think, like, here's the thing, okay? I think the movie could be okay. I don't see this. I don't know why they put it for Valentine's Day, because, I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, unless your girlfriend is way into Sonic the Hedgehog, you ain't getting any if you take her to go see the fucking movie on Valentine's Day.
Or unless the both of you are furries.
Even then, I don't think you're getting any if you take her to see this on Valentine's Day. I don't think you're getting any unless you both are really into Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was about to make the joke that there's going to be no one else made if you're trying to give him Sonic the Hedgehog.
You ain't getting any special attention. That's all I'm saying. If you take her to see this on Valentine's Day, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No. You aren't gonna get your coals raked. There's not gonna be
champagne in the champagne room.
If you're a lady and you're expecting to have your boyfriend on Valentine's Day dine out at the Y, and you took him to see this shit for Valentine's Day, I'm sorry. Your claim's not getting.
There's no X in the champagne room there.
And isn't February becoming the new month for dumpster fire movies?
No, February's not as bad as it used to be. It's becoming a little bit better just because summer is becoming fucking crowded. That they're starting to spread things out a little bit more, but still, it's not great. It's not great because don't forget there were some good movies back in the day that came out in February. There's none that come to my mind right now, but I know that they exist because I remember watching them and saying that's actually a good movie. Yeah.
That's how her is to find a movie that's good in February.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think this movie's going to be good, but I just think here's what I think. I think if you root for for Jim Carrey's Robotnik to kill this version of Sonic the Hedgehog, you'll enjoy this movie. All right. If you like, I think if you pin your hopes on Jim Carrey making this movie worth watching, you'll enjoy this movie. If you're hoping to see your hero Sonic the Hedgehog, you probably will not enjoy this movie. But you know, if you're like me and never liked Sonic the Hedgehog, then this movie will be okay for you. But I'm not gonna watch it on Valentine's Day because I will be watching an appropriately romantic movie with my girlfriend because I want to smash on Valentine's Day. I don't want to watch and not Smash Brothers, the other type of Smash. So yeah, if I do a review of Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, it will not be on Valentine's Day.
If it is, then something happened to you on your date night.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see you reviewing this movie. That something bad happened on your
I wouldn't
date.
even review Valentine's Day. Let people in on the business that I had a fucked up Valentine's Day? Hell no. So no, I wouldn't even then. I'd be like, no, fuck no.
That's funny because that was the only way I would ever see you even attempt that.
Nope, not happening. Anyway, anyone else have anything else they want to say?
Nope.
About the Sonic movie?
All I'm just going to say is Sonic's going to need a lot more love than what's going on in Valentine's Day to save it.
All right, okay. All right then. So let's moving on with other information. We covered the main stuff, so I guess we can get to
The fun topic.
Well, actually, we got a little bit of news left. Just quick stuff. Star Ocean First Departure R announced for Nintendo Switch.
RPG fans might love this.
Well, here's the. This just proves how fucking incompetent Square Enix is. Okay. So Square Enix is releasing a re-release. Is doing a remake of a game that came out on the PSP. What was the selling point of the PSP?
It's portable and fun.
It was basically a portable PlayStation, right? Portable PlayStation.
Yeah.
You could play your console games on the go. Now, they are doing a remake of Star Ocean R for the Switch. And rather than do a ground up remake of the game of Star Ocean 1 or do a duology of Star Ocean 1 and 2 and really showcase the power of the console, they're literally doing a port of a PSP game for a console that one of its selling points is that you can play console games on the go. So basically, it's a no effort port, is what I'm saying. It's no effort given. Yeah, it's nice. Oh well. Your guys' thoughts on it?
I'm seeing it as a good hope for RPGs to show up, and well, I'm gonna hear no end of this, but I'll try to squash it anyways. It's still a home console instead of a handheld. You blockheads. Seriously, even if it's portable and could come off the charger, it is still a console and not a beeping handheld. Please get in.
Well, for me, I've seen a couple of people reading news saying they prefer a straight up remake of the second game or a port of the third one.
I mean, to be honest with you, Star Ocean is like the original Star Ocean came out for the Super Famicom, and it came out towards the end of the 16-bit generation. It's not a bad game. Comparatively speaking, though, it kind of like the 16-bit generation was just like awash with like top tier RPGs. So compared to the top tier RPGs of the time, it's a technical marvel, but it's not really that good. Like, it's not like as good as the other ones. It's not terrible. It's just not as good. Like, compared to Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger or Earthbound or Lufia 2 or Secret of Mana, Dragon Quest 6, 5, it's not as good as those games. It's good. It's not as good as those games. So that's, I mean, you know, so for people who like, that's one of the first non-Final Fantasy action RPGs you played on the PlayStation. It's good, but it's not like, you know, it's not the height. It's not as good as its competitors were in the 16-bit generation. But for those of you who never played it, cool, go play it. Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have this game on the PS3 eShop, so I'm not gonna get it again. Not eShop, but you know, the PSN. I got it, downloaded it for my PS3, so I'm not gonna get it again just to play it on my Switch, even if it's a remake. I just don't. I don't see the point. But hey, knock yourself out if you want to play an RPG. I mean, the Switch has some RPGs, but not nearly as much as should really be on the system. But here's my one caveat: Square Enix, if you're going to release any more RPGs on the system, new RPGs, not old shit. Thank you.
Yes.
Because I'm getting tired of remakes. At this point, I'm getting tired of remakes. That being said, I got a little bit of other news. Apex Legends, before we get to the Apex Legends revenue down by 74% after just 2 months of release.
Yeah, because EA is probably killing it.
Going to have a good laugh about. It's because of all the forced advertisement that they use with influentials. That I think that this is going from fire to ice.
I have one more evil laugh to get out before I move on.
And if you're part of that company, and if you were part of those enforcers, Red Fox has more of those for you.
It has gone as I have foreseen. I'm sorry, but your friends will find this battle station fully operational. Okay, that's enough of that. Oh man.
Yeah, he could keep going. He could keep going for hours after seeing what happened to Apex Legends.
Palpatine is a real piece of shit, but man, that laugh. Oh, such a
It was. I was about to say that kind of laugh is gold, isn't it?
It's great. Like when you just really just want someone to just suffer. Anyway, let's move on to the fun topic. The fun topic is game designs that are pet peeves. Like, you know, basically something that comes out and you're just like, you know, this game would be awesome, but then they did something that it's a game design that just, I hate when people do that. So who wants to go first?
Come
I'll go
on.
first.
Okay.
I'll go first. I've said this several times before, and I'm pretty sure you're already tired of it. But having multiple variations of the same character, having separate plots, like as if they're treated as separate characters, like Mario, Metal Mario, Dr. Mario, Baby Mario, Cat Mario.
This is what happens in the Mario Kart series.
Yes, as well as
those should just be different skins, not different characters. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, it feels kind of like, especially Mario Kart 8, it feels kind of like they padded out the roster a little bit like that. But, you know, far be it from me to criticize Nintendo. I'm being facetious when I say that. So, yeah, I can agree with that. That is kind of a game design pet peeve. Who wants to go next?
Usually I don't have this much of a problem with Zelda games like Hyrule Warriors because canonically there's more than one Link and Zelda, more than one Link and more than one Zelda.
Well, and plus they play differently, but functionally speaking, a lot of those variations in certain games basically play essentially the same. It's just they might be slightly different, but not enough for it to be. It should be a new skin. It shouldn't be the same character.
What Pinky said is a big pet peeve of mine when it comes to certain games, such as the Mario Party series.
Yeah, because none of those characters have any differences. They all basically play the same. It's just they look different. You know, it's Bowser, it's Ganon, it's Bowser, it's Donkey Kong, it's Mario, it's Wario, it's Luigi.
At least a different variant of a pre-existing character is not playable in the roster. So no Mario and Mario Party.
I'll be honest with you. After playing Fortune Street, like I'd rather play Fortune Street than Mario Party, because in Fortune Street, each of the characters have character-specific abilities that basically can change up how you play the game. So if you're playing as a slime, they have a different ability than say generic Dragon Quest hero character, or Toulon the merchant, or the kid who rides a saber cat. Like they all have individual special abilities in this Mario Party-esque Monopoly type game.
Going back to the character abilities, Super Mario Party does have their characters. They give each character different dice blocks.
Yeah, but even then, it's like it's not much. They had to add that later on, and it still wasn't all that different. Just slightly, it's like a slight variation. Which look, it's a game design flaw that some people don't like. Anyone else? Kenoshi, you have a game design flaw where you're just like, look, I was enjoying this game, but then they did something. It was too much.
Bullet sponges.
Oh yeah,
there's something about bullet sponges.
Oh yeah.
They got so much HP.
You know what?
Come on.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Games that increase difficulty by making enemies bullet sponges instead of making better AI.
Yeah.
It's like the enemy should be smarter, not take more
thicker.
Yeah, not take more damage from not have higher HP. That's lazy. Fallout is notorious. Bethesda Fallout is notorious for this. Bethesda Fallout, like if you play Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 on the higher difficulties, enemies that you could one shot in the face on lower difficulties, like you shoot a guy in the head with a high-powered sniper rifle 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, motherfucker's still standing. And I'm like, this shit is ridiculous. Just fucking ridiculous.
Is it because of the weapon, the ammo and resources are more limited?
No, it's because they're lazy, and instead of for me, if you're gonna make a video game like that where you have higher difficulty, the difficulty should be enemies have more powerful weapons or they have smarter AI. Like maybe on lower difficulty, the enemies just run towards you shooting. But on higher difficulties, like you'll have a guy shoot at you and force you undercover and have people flank you, or the boss is smarter with their tactics. That's higher difficulty for me. Higher difficulty isn't, this boss used to have 3,000 HP. Now the motherfucker's got 9,000. That's not higher difficulty. That just means you were lazy. And you just didn't want to. It's kind of like how a lot of developers, instead of talking about how they're going to make the AI algorithm for characters more in depth and more reactive or proactive. No, we're just going to make graphics look better. We got God rays. How is that going to make the game better? Well, God rays. How is that going to make the games better? Didn't you hear me say God rays?
When people say graphics are a key feature of the game, there's something about to go south.
Yeah. But let's see what else.
I got a pair.
Okay, go ahead.
These probably coincide in its RPG bad tropes. It's two bad game tropes. Escort missions and bosses from nowhere. especially
All right.
final bosses out of nowhere.
All right.
Do you care to pick which one to rant on, or you feel both are equally terrible?
I think they're both pretty bad. Actually, I have three that that piss me off. And these are all RPG tropes because I guess I'm kind of like the RPG guy on the cast. The number one, the first one is pretty easy. I hate the chosen one narrative in video games. I've noticed that some of my favorite RPGs of all time don't have the chosen one narrative thing going on. Like your main
For
character.
me, I have to. I believe you on the chosen one thing, but if anything, they have to. If they're gonna pull that off, they better have a beeping good story for it.
For me, I hate the chosen one narrative in video games. I like Chrono Trigger because Chrono is just some guy. He's not the chosen one. He's just some guy. Now there are characters in your party who are heroes. Like Frog is a hero, but he's got to go through on a major journey to become what he's destined to eventually become. And that's awesome. But like the main character in Chrono is just some guy. He's not some hero. He's just some guy. It's just some guy. Or you play Skies of Arcadia. Like Vice is just some guy. He's not some legendary hero. He's just some guy. And I like that concept of just normal people rising up and doing
Saving
something
the world.
Versus it was prophesized on the 6th month of the 6th week of the 6th day, and the moon turned blood red, and there was an eclipse, and a chosen one was born. Man, fuck that. Why is it always a chosen one? Why? It's so annoying. Yeah, I hate that trope in RPGs. The second trope that I hate in RPGs are unwinnable fights. I hate that.
Oh,
I hate when they have a fight you're supposed to lose, because when I play RPGs, I grind the shit out of every area I'm in.
I was going to say, I know exactly one specific fight one specific character that you'd hate the most, and that would be in Final Fantasy IX with a certain character that finally gets his Super Saiyan powers, and when you kick his A, he casts his meteor on your ass to give you a FU.
No, I don't mean that. No. I'll give you a perfect example. Anyone here ever played Skies of Arcadia Legends?
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's a guy in that game called Ramirez, and he basically tracks you back to your base and destroys it. But here's the thing. I grind the shit out of my character, so I was basically high level, and I was kicking his ass, but you're supposed to lose the fight. So you take him down to 0 HP, he gets back up and keep on fighting. I'm like, what type of bullshit is this?
Please tell me they did not do the Infinite Phoenix Down trap.
No. After a while, I figured out you're supposed to lose the fight, so I took the fall, and then it continued on the way it's supposed to do. I hate unwinnable fights. Why don't you just have an algorithm where after you beat the guy, you get maybe a rare drop or something, and he's like, well, you may have beat me this time, but my men still did whatever they had to do, and we're leaving. Like, why don't you do that? Why does it always have to be an unwinnable fight? Because here's the thing. I'm so good at a lot of RPGs because I have my methodology for playing them. Like, I go to a new area, I grind until I can 1 or 2 shot the strongest enemy in that area. Right? That's my rule of thumb for grinding in certain areas. So by that point, by the time I get to a boss fight, I'm kicking their ass more often than not. So, I mean, like, I hate these fucking unwinnable boss fights where you're supposed to lose. Fuck that.
At least give
my hero, I should win.
If you're able to kick the boss's butt and you are leveled enough to do it, give them something special for it, like a special ending or a special item.
So yeah, I hate that. I hate
the unwinnable.
I hate the unwinnable. Oh, this boss, you're supposed to down this boss thing. Hate
that's the chosen one trope. The lose to progress boss fight, and you had one more.
And the fast one is the last one that just gets on my fucking nerves, that just pisses me off, just literally makes me angry as hell. Is, and this is an RPG trope that gets on my nerves. The last one that pisses me off is you get thrown in jail and you get your ability sealed or your items stolen. So then you got to break out of jail and you got none of your weapons. So then like enemies are taking, like it's much tougher to get out of there.
Let me bring up a game that has this, and well, it kind of does it right if you pick the, and it does this kind of right if you pick the right character. Yes, Chrono Trigger, and that's with Ayla. If you got Ayla on your side, she's the only one that's able to fight.
Yeah, because she fights barehanded. But I mean, even then, it was kind of annoying. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like when that happens in RPGs. Let's see what else. That's it. Anyone have any other pet peeves that they're like, man, I hate this.
I know I said escort missions.
Side quests that don't add to the world, really.
Oh,
they're just kind of there.
I hate that.
It doesn't add to the world. It doesn't affect the story in any way. I wish more side quests actually affected the story. I just don't see, that's something that gets annoying.
Side quests like that, or like Naruto filler episodes.
Yeah, and you have to grind it out in order to get a certain weapon, finish the game.
Yeah, except Naruto's filler is a little bit entertaining, at least.
No, sometimes it's really bad, but
other times they just drag.
I think Chrono Trigger is probably a decent example of side quests that actually affected the world or affected characters in a certain way.
Yeah, but Chrono Trigger is almost a perfect RPG. So it's like, it's really hard to, it's almost unfair to use Chrono Trigger as an example because almost every side quest, like you said, really added to that game.
Radiant Historia.
A lot of the side quests in that game kind of really add to the game. Like, it's like, and I'll tell you another RPG that the side quests really add to the game, Bacon Katos. Most of the side quests really do add to that game. Like, finding a dying old man's relatives so that they could see him before he passed on. Getting all of these animals for like an end of the world apocalypse scenario so that these animals could survive. Reuniting a guy with his children that he kind of abandoned when they were young because he was too much of a chicken shit to stand up to his domineering wife. All that type of cool shit. It's like, damn, these are actually some kind of interesting side quests. But you're right, a lot of games, side quests are like, wow, I got a slightly better sword, and that's about it. You know a game that had side quests that were like that? Skyrim.
Yeah.
Shitty ass. So
the only other grind I have with games at times are RPG grinds that you really are too easy to work with. Like if it's just press A, easy with victory, and it's required to take on a boss that is a lot more tactical than that. As in the game contrasts between core enemies and the fighting enemies. I mean, and the story enemies. It's so contrast that you wonder how come these guys are more entertaining than the scrubs that I'm supposed to beat up for Gil, or how come the guys that I'm supposed to beat up are a lot more entertaining than this generic boss that I'm supposed to take down.
Yeah, sometimes side characters are more interesting. I mean, Final Fantasy VI had that problem where it's like General Leo was such a badass. It's like, wow, this character seems like he'd have an awesome backstory, and yet they kill him off, and you find out nothing. It's like, come on, man, General Leo was such a badass. General Leo is the only character I can think of because he is such a badass, and it would be really cool to see him. But that's just me. Anything else anyone wants to bring up before we wrap things up?
Yes. And a new Ubisoft IP has been leaked for E3.
Watch Dogs 3?
No, it's titled Roller Champions.
Ubisoft.
Can you repeat that? Because I'm not sure if I heard that right.
It's called Roller Champions. It involves skating and a sports ball, according to the leaks.
And this is for what?
This is for E3.
Okay. Why do I get this movie turned video game vibe with a name that sounds like a sport, like a made up sport that you'd see on a futuristic game?
You're probably thinking of Alita Battle Angel because the movie has a sport similar to what's described here.
No.
Yeah.
Rollerball was a movie that came out in the 70s, and then they did a remake in, I want to say, the late 90s with LL Cool J and some other guy. And basically, it's like the 70s one is set in this dystopian future where humanity is like basically human beings are the economy has collapsed. So people, the government, in order to get people's minds off how shitty their lives are, creates this ultra violent game where these athletes who are illiterate and can barely read, who play this ultra violent game called Rollerball. Well, where it's kind of like they roll around this big arena with this ball that's it's made out of metal and really heavy, and they throw it through this hoop. But they can also use the ball as a weapon and throw it at people and smash their faces in and kill them.
Among other things, yes.
Among other things, yeah. And it's actually kind of considered a kind of a cult classic, iconic dystopian sci-fi film. If they're making that into a game, I'd be cool with it. But
posted the article which shows the concept art, image concept art of what the game's gonna be like.
Oh shit, yeah, it's kind of like Rollerball. I mean, it's a little too
simple.
It's a little too kiddie looking with the kind of over exaggerated format, but I mean, it could be good. I mean, look, it's Ubisoft. Ubisoft is kind of like Namco Bandai. I mean, you people have probably heard me say Namco Bandai is a 50-50 company. 50% of the time they do something awesome, but 50% of the time they're fucking up. Well, that's Ubisoft. 50% of the time they'll put out a game. It's like, wow, this game's pretty good. The other 50% of the time it's like, wow, this game.
What a piece of trash.
Yeah, this game is shit. So, it's. You just got to kind of roll with it,
And it's coming to both Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC, of course.
Of course, because I don't know what happened. I guess Ubisoft finally got the Sony whatever.
The Sony leash taken off them
from out the pooter. But anyway, that being said, anyone have any other news they want to cover before we wrap things up?
Nope. That's pretty much all the gaming news we have for the week.
All right. Anyone have anything they want to pimp out before we wrap things up? Anything.
Cool.
Other than posting the video game addiction article I posted at Video Game Facts. nothing to pimp out.
All right. Well, the Truth joined us for the
Last
podcast.
minute.
Thank you for joining us, the Truth. You can reach me on Gmail at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com, or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at mrredfox91. Stay tuned next week where Saturday's BS Busters will be me doing a live non-spoiler review of King of the Monsters. Because I'll be watching it Friday, so it makes sense that I do a review the day after. That being said, I had 2 videos come out this weekend. One about the things that bothered me about gamers, like 3 things that they're always complaining about that just get on my nerve. And the latest one was me talking about my first impressions of Yakuza Kiwami 2. Which, I mean, listen, I'm not really normally a graphics whore, but man, that is a pretty fucking looking game. Like, I was one of those people who was skeptical about the new Dragon engine, but man, that game looks good. Especially on PC. I don't know about the PS4 version because I don't have a PS4, but looks good on PC. So with that being said, Kenosha, you have anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
No.
All right.
No, just be safe out there.
Be safe. Don't drink and drive. And tip your waiters. And that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. I already pimped out where you can find me. Go to Video Game Facts on Discus. It's a great place with very little bullshit. Very little bullshit's allowed there, which is great. So with that being said, peace and good night.